We need to turn our attention back to BP, everybody, because the company is going to end up spending billions of dollars on the oil spill cleanup, but likely billions more on legal claims. With me this morning, an expert on such lawsuits. Jim Tripp is senior counsel at the Environmental Defense Fund. Previously, he was a prosecutor at the U.S. Attorney's Office specializing in environmental law. Jim, thanks for being here. Let's start with the money. Billions of dollars. You estimate BP's legal costs in that neighborhood, but how many billions might we be talking about? Because the only reference point that most people have for this is what happened with Exxon Valdez.
Well, under the Federal Clean Water Act, there are civil penalties of over minimum $1,000 per barrel of oil that gets spilled, and that can go up to over $4,000 if the government can show gross negligence. A rough estimate is something like 800, it's been 40 days, 800,000 barrels. So you multiply that by a little bit over 1,000, that's $1 billion to start off with. So those are civil penalties. That's over and above everything else that BP is going to owe to make fishermen whole, communities whole, the tourism, recreational industry, and so on whole.
Jim, you've been fighting to restore Louisiana wetlands for 30 years. You know what it's going to take to establish negligence here, which, as you pointed out, is really the key. What is it going to take? What is the federal government, which has opened up a criminal investigation, plus these civil lawsuits, going to need to do to establish negligence? Well,
the question is, how much did BP or any of its officials or people out in the rig really know about what was going on with this well starting back in March? And certainly from what I've read, there were indications that there were serious problems with this well. Then the question is, what was the standard of care? What should the company have done to make corrections before this blowout occurred? So certainly from what I've read in the media, there's a fair amount of evidence that there was a substantial amount of negligence, or BP could have done things differently to have prevented this kind of blowout from occurring.
But we won't really begin to find out until some of these cases begin entering the court system, presuming BP doesn't try to settle everything.
That is correct. I mean, that's really up to what the Department of Justice does with its investigation, and it's initiated that investigation. I would certainly hope that it doesn't progress that investigation in a way which is going to interfere with the all-important #1 task of closing off this well.
Jim, we have about 30 seconds left. Tell me, from the EDF's perspective, how has BP handled the situation so far?
Well, in terms of trying to cap the well, it seems to me that BP has it's drawn on all the engineering talent of the world, done everything that it can. In terms of actually trying to prevent the oil from getting into the wetlands, that's a whole nother story. The wetlands, of course, have been deteriorating for 80 years. They've lost a third of their 7,000 acres of wetlands. The system is vulnerable. Oil can easily get into these wetlands of coastal Louisiana. We've got to restore this system, keep the oil out.
How many years is it going to take to clean up those wetlands, with about 10 seconds?
It will take, it depends how quickly the oil decomposes, years, and BP hopefully will help restore these wetlands.